Welcome to another edition of the Parks and Recognize interview series. Thank you for helping us celebrate and recognize the remarkable Parks and Rec pros who foster community spirit, inspire engagement, and ensure that everyone has equal access to parks and wellness activities in their communities. In each episode, we sit down with passionate Parks and Rec professionals to explore the crucial work they do, their journey in the Parks and Rec world, and the passion that drives them to do what they do. I'm your host, Tatis Mosenipur, VP of Marketing at Xplor Recreation, and today I'm joined by none other than John Dunn III from the city of Tukwila in Washington. Thanks for joining us today, John.
Glad to be here.
Since this interview is all about getting to know you, I like to set the tone with a fun little icebreaker question. So here it is. If you could eat only one meal for the rest of your life, John, what would it be?
Pizza, without a doubt. Love pizza.
Well, that was a very strong and affirmative answer there. Well, let's dive into that a little bit deeper. What kind of pizza, or what's your go-to pizza topping?
Usually the go-to is a pepperoni and sausage, and then I'll mix it up sometime and maybe add some bacon or go with the meat lovers. But pepperoni sausage is the staple.
That's the staple. Very nice. My partner, she's from Chicago, Illinois. Are you a fan of deep dish pizza, or is that pie?
I do enjoy a deep dish. In fact, I like them all. Thin, crispy, pan, regular. I like them all.
You don't discriminate when it comes to pizza. Neither do I.
Nope.
Awesome. Well, for the folks listening in today, tell us, Sean, what do you do and where do you do it?
So my position is Recreation Superintendent at the city of Tukwila. I've actually been there now 17 years. And then before that, I was with the city of Pullman, working there for 8 years. So I've been in the rec field for a while. My current role, I manage the front desk customer service for our community center. And then I also oversee customer service at the golf course in the pro shop. And then I am also currently taking on the special event permitting and eventually working into managing special events for large special events for the city of Tukwila.
There's never a shortage of jobs and responsibilities for Parks and Rec folks.
Nope. There's always that caveat of other duties as assigned. And I don't think there's ever a day that's exactly the same.
That's part of the fun, isn't it?
Exactly.
If I'm doing my math right, that's 25 years roughly that you've been in Parks and Rec?
Yep, 25 years, basically since I got out of school, went right in. And actually part of that was while I was in school. That's how I found the passion for Parks and Rec.
And what took you down that path? What made you decide to explore that passion?
It was actually kind of funny because originally when I went to school, I was going to be computer science. I love computers, I love software, I love numbers. And then I realized I'm like, that's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I was trying to figure out what I want to do. And I was talking to a neighbor of mine and I was joking and I said, well, I want to play for a living. And so she was like, well, have you ever heard of Parks and Rec? And so like many Parks and Rec professionals, I kind of fell into it. Because as we started talking and finding out all the different things that you can do, the folks that you can serve, that's where I was like, okay, this is what I want to do the rest of my life.
That is so cool. I ask this question to everybody we talk to on these interview calls, and oftentimes it's, family members or friends or their involvement in Parks and Rec through their own childhood and teenage years. This is the first time hearing that a neighbor inspired that path.
Well,
really
she
cool.
was going to grad school for it. So I didn't even know you could get a degree in it, let alone, anything about the field. So I started doing a little research when she mentioned it. Well, I actually just walked into a professor's office on campus in the rec department and was like, started talking to him and learning more. And so I that's the degree I went for.
I love that. And I know that you spent quite a bit of time up north. You were involved in hockey quite a bit early in your career. Is that right?
So I played in college on a club team, and then I took some time off once I graduated, and then my kids started getting into hockey, so I started coaching. So I've actually been coaching now probably the last, I think it was about the last 10, 12 years, about 12 years now.
That's incredible. So I'm sure that takes quite a bit of your time as well.
Yes, yes, it does.
John, I'm a very firm believer that Parks and Rec professionals are the heartbeats of our communities everywhere. Bit of a loaded question here. What does community mean to you?
For me, community is, I mean, there's multiple layers to it. You know, it's like you have your community that you basically that you are in, you are supported by them, you support them.
Mhm.
But then, you know, that's your personal community, you know, your family, your close friends. But then there's the community of that's bigger than you or bigger than your family. You know, for me, recreation is so vital. It's a community that, you know, there's people that have needs. So that process of offering these different activities to give people a break from their normal lives, from, you know, the stress of school or the stress of work, you know, so being able to provide that community and welcome everybody's like, hey, you know, we're here for you. So that's kind of the bigger picture of community for me.
In the work that you do, you're quite deeply involved in empowering and supporting your communities. And I'm sure over the many years, you've been able to see the kind of impact that you and your team have had on the community and watching that community really grow and evolve through the work that you do. Can you share a little bit about your experiences with that?
Yeah, I think the that growth and constant change that we go through with Parks and Rec, you know, we're always looking for the new thing or what needs need to be met. Some of those examples we ran across, and if we hadn't reached out and talked to folks, we wouldn't have even known. Like an example, we have a very large immigration population in our community, and depending on the cultures, there's some cultures that need to have separation of males and females. And we realized that we had folks that really wanted to work out, but you know, there was mixed genders in there. And so we were
Wow.
able to offer different times and segment times that were women only to give people an opportunity to go in and be physically fit, which led to us offering fitness classes that way. So those are the type of impacts that we've seen. I think the other big one was during COVID. You know, that was, as we all know, was
Mm.
that was a big one. And so seeing the needs for recreation at that point,
Mhm.
um, and you know, when it very first hit, we had seniors who were the most vulnerable, who were afraid to leave the house. Some of them are low income or set income, and you know, trying to get food to their house but do it safely. We actually were able to get a grant right, I mean, right off the bat. And we were able to use that money to provide meals. And it was basically a extended version of the Meals on Wheels program. But we
Wow.
served, I think it was almost 25,000 meals into our
Wow.
community. And it was front door service. We would drop it off at their front door, step back, so that we always maintained social distancing. But it was able to provide meals to folks who couldn't get out in the community.
That's so special. And actually, I'm starting to recall when I visited last fall that you had showed us the kitchen that you folks were using to help support those meals. That's really special, John. Thanks for sharing that. And I really love that, those are two very distinct examples of community, like supporting certain members that need that additional support during times of challenge, but also accommodating to the diversity of your community and understanding the different needs of particular members of your community. John, you have no shortage of experience in your career, and there's lots I'm sure that you've accomplished in the Parks and Rec space. But I'd love it if you could share a couple moments that you're really proud of in your career as a Parks and Recreation professional and why they were really important to you.
Well, I think the one of the ones that I love sharing is that story about the meals for the seniors. I think that was I mean, it was a quick response to an ever-changing situation of, of unknown.
Hmm.
Like the whole world didn't know we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what to expect. Our entire team adapting and changing, I think was one of my what I feel is proudest about. I think the other one is, and this kind of ties into like the growth of staff. We have kids who will come through our programs and then they start working for us. And then I can't tell you how many of those kids who then they start working for us now, then they go to school for it and they become teachers, they become um, advocates for kids, they become counselors, so I think that giving that experience of quality interaction with as a youth, as a staff, and having that interaction with all the different age groups. I know I had one person who was coming through our program. She didn't directly report to me, but I saw her in the hallways, and I would talk to her. Her plan was to be a marine biologist, if I remember right.
Hmm.
And I remember talking to her, and she's like, she enjoyed it, but she didn't feel like that was her right calling.
Hmm.
And I just kind of remember having that conversation of like, well, what do you enjoy doing? Like, when are you the happiest? Pointing out, like, when she was like, well, I love it here. I love working with the kids, having that conversation. And so she actually changed her major and is now working for a nonprofit working for kids. And so, yeah,
Wow.
it's just kind of cool seeing that growth and that change in the staff.
That's a common theme that I hear with folks I have these discussions with is just how future generations of Parks and Rec professionals come through from their experiences and time that they spend in their community engaging in these Parks and Recreation activities and programs and events as a kid, teenager, and adult. It's really special. John, when you're not busy empowering your community members and staff and not busy coaching hockey, what could we catch you doing in your spare time? The little spare time that you have.
I was like, spare time. Yeah, coaching is a big one. That is like a bucket filler for me. That fills my bucket. But if it's not coaching, I actually love going to concerts. My daughter's my concert buddy. So when she can get a break from college, we'll try to go to hit some concerts. We enjoy doing that. And then I also play hockey in an adult league, so that's my other go-to. So concerts and that, and then the occasional I like to video game. So I,
Oh,
I get on
nice.
that with my buddies.
Oh, very cool. Lots keeping you busy, I'm sure, John. Hey, you know what? I'm going to actually double back to our icebreaker question, and I'm going to add another one to it now that I know about your passion for concerts. John, what is your favorite concert that you've attended?
Oh, that's a good question because I've done quite a few that I really enjoy. Um, I would probably say for oh man, probably for you're stumping me here. That's a good
It's a
question.
tough one.
I would almost say because of the energy in the stage theatrics, Slipknot is one of my favorites. I've
Oh,
actually seen them 3 times, and
wow.
I'm going to see them a fourth time this summer.
Nice. I do have one more question before we wrap up. If you have any one piece of career advice you can share to other Parks and Rec professionals, what would it be?
You know, I know many people get into this field to serve, and that's what drives most of us. I
Mm,
think particularly for younger folks starting in this field is, we put everything we have out there, but remembering to recreate ourselves. Um, and I think finding what fills your bucket, because we Parks and Rec covers a lot of stuff. I mean,
hmm
there's so many different aspects to recreation. And even if it's not necessarily your exact job title and duties, is still find that thing that fills your bucket. Um, for me, my biggest bucket filler, like I mentioned before, is coaching hockey. I absolutely love coaching, and that fills
hmm
mine. So I would say, recreate yourselves, and then find that bucket. What fills your bucket?
Love that advice so much. That's super valuable, and thanks for sharing it. John, I'm really grateful to know you. Very grateful for the time that I get to spend with you through these calls and in person. And really grateful for you taking the time to share your journey with other Parks and Recreation professionals and for sharing that very valuable advice. Unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to see you this last time at the WRPA, but I'll be sure to swing on down to Tukwila soon to visit you. Until then, take care and thanks again.
Thank you.